I call Mr Brian Wilson to move the motion. Mr Wilson.
Thank you very much, Mr Deputy Speaker. And perhaps from what the First Minister said, I think perhaps the wording that he is suggesting perhaps be appropriate, but we'll discuss that. In proposing the motion, I should like to first clarify my own views on this. I'm totally opposed to the extension at the runway of George Best Belfast City Airport. However, this is not the intention of the motion. It is to call for the application to be referred to a public inquiry. The support for a public inquiry is widespread, ranging from local councils, including those most affected in Belfast and North Down, many thousands of local residents, to the largest user of the airport, Flybe, and Belfast International Airport. These concerns must be addressed in a transparent manner, and this can only be done through a public inquiry. This is not a straightforward planning application. It will affect the lives of thousands of residents and will be of strategic significance to the development of the Northern Ireland economy. It raises important, serious structural, social and environmental issues which cannot be examined under the normal planning process. The case for a public inquiry under Section 31 is overwhelming. It is essential that the stakeholders have an opportunity to make their case. The public inquiry will give the people most affected, particularly in Hollywood and East Belfast, the right to have their concerns and views heard. It will allow the independent scrutiny of the noise, health and environmental impacts of the proposed extension. In particular, it would enable the inquiry to examine the impact of the changes made under the 2008 planning agreement and the introduction of the larger Boeing 737s last year. The inquiry would also examine the economic benefits, disbenefits to the overall Northern Ireland economy and evaluate the impact of the possible displacement of passengers from the international airport, threatening its long-term viability and its ability to compete with Dublin Airport. The company promotes this issue as an environmental impact on residents against the economic benefits to the Northern Ireland economy. This grossly underestimates the environmental impact and exaggerates the economic benefits, if any. Nowhere does the company try to justify its claims of economic benefits. These claims must be considered by a public inquiry. In fact, where there are clearly financial benefits to the company, there is no evidence of benefits to the economy as a whole. In fact, in the 2003 Aviation White Paper, it suggested any increase in airport capacity should take place at the international airport. A number of economic benefits have been suggested. First of all, there would be an increase in jobs. Now, obviously, new jobs will be created in the construction of the runway. In the long term, few new jobs will be created. The proposed increase in flights is less than 10%, and this is not likely to create extra jobs in servicing the airport. New jobs created as a result are likely to result as a displacement of jobs from the international airport. Increased tourism. Most tourists expect to travel 10 or 20 miles when arriving in a foreign destination. Indeed, Ryanair passengers would expect to travel at least 50. The shorter distances from Belfast City Airport is not likely to influence a tourist who wishes to visit Northern Ireland. Increased business traffic. The city airport already provides an excellent service to most UK cities. Unfortunately, there is no European city which could justify a regular flight to business services alone, and in the past year a large number of flights to European cities have had to be withdrawn. In fact, the present business user is more likely to be discouraged by having to queue behind 300 holidaymakers bound for Tenerife or Malaga. I suspect one reason why Flybe are opposed to the extension is that it would disrupt would disrupt their regular business customers to British cities and change the whole nature of the airport. The airport has waged a propaganda campaign against a public inquiry, stressing the economic advantages to the local economy. It even commissioned polls to show how much public supported the airport plans. However, the poll, first of all, asked the wrong and leading questions, ignored the main issues, for example, the environmental issue, polled the wrong people. For example, businesses in the Belfast city centre were polled, but those in the areas affected, for example, Hollywood, Sydenham and East Belfast, were not included. And most of the research was carried out before the proposed extension became public knowledge. As a reflection of public opinion, this poll has no credibility. As an economist, I see no significant economic benefit from the proposed extension. On the other hand, I do see serious social and environmental problems. The new planning agreement allows a significant increase in passenger numbers and an additional 3,000 flights. The arrival last year of the Ryanair 737s caused an increase of 122% in the number of people significantly affected by noise. The impact of these changes on local residents should be assessed before any further increases should be considered. Despite assurances, again, that flights would be directed over the loch, almost 90% still fly over residential areas. The runway extension will lead to an increase in noise pollution. The reason for the extension is to allow takeoffs of fully loaded, fully fuelled large jets, which will use the full length of the extended runway, and being much heavier, will inevitably be lower and louder. A key statutory consultee, the Eastern Health Board, has voiced major reservations on the increased health risk, but was not consulted by the Planning Service, and therefore has been no health impact assessment. Meanwhile, thousands of people are forced to endure the unrelenting expansion of the airport, which impacts on most on people. While less than 20 miles away exists an airport with plenty of spare capacity, no noise issues, no need for a curfew on operating hours, no crosswind issues, no bird reserve issues, 2 runways and no areas of dense population. One has to ask the question why the company is so opposed to a public inquiry. Why are they against open public debate? In the absence of an overall strategic examination of the airport capacity, we require public inquiry to answer a number of questions. And I think we should actually have a regional plan for airporting. Unfortunately, this is a reserved issue, but basically we should have some regional assessment of our capacity for required for airports. So we've got to ask ourselves, what are the benefits, if any, to the economy? And basically, I would query there are any. Sorry. Okay.
Is it not correct that it would be foolish to take a decision in a piecemeal fashion without a proper strategic aviation strategy for Northern Ireland? Surely that is vital for Northern Ireland to ensure that we're doing what is right for the economic advancement for Northern Ireland plc rather than some particular area of Northern Ireland.
Thank the member for his intervention. Yes, I would totally agree, and I think perhaps I didn't put the point as clearly as he did, but that is exactly what we're saying. The issue is that we should not be taking this on a one-off basis, but we should be looking at the overall strategy for. How will the extension meet the European criteria for a city airport? I mean, there are obviously restrictions on city airports. Does this new extension comply with these restrictions? Again, we've got to ask ourselves, will there be major infrastructure improvements required? The Sydenham bypass many times of the day is basically a giant car park. Basically, do we want to increase that, and how would this affect passengers? Is the increase in noise and air pollution suffered by the residents of North Down and East Belfast acceptable? How would the displacement of tourist traffic impact on the Belfast International Airport? Will Belfast International be denied the critical mass of passengers to compete effectively with Dublin Airport for international flights? What are the long-term implications for the development of air travel in Northern Ireland? Will we see further applications to expand the number of flights at the city? I recently spoke to Brian Ambrose asked him for an assurance that he would not seek a further increase in the number of flights. He was unwilling to do so, but unless there is a significant increase in flights, the runway extension does not make economic sense. There will be further applications, I can assure you, if this is approved. These and many other issues need to be resolved, and this can only be done through a public inquiry. Therefore, I ask you all to support the motion. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Business Committee has arranged to meet immediately upon the lunchtime suspension today. I propose, therefore, by leave of the Assembly, to suspend the sitting until 2 p.m, when Mr Jimmy Sprott will be the first Speaker. The sitting is by leave suspended.